States, including Coleman DuPont, Irving Berlin, and Harold Vanderbilt, and promising the world's most architecturally beautiful playground, immediately set to work on what would be the centerpiece of a 16,000-acre fantasy resort. An intimate gem of a hotel, which he named the Cloister Inn. Modeled on an 11th century Spanish convent, the Cloisters was tucked away behind the lush tropical foliage of southern Florida, a luxurious retreat in the middle of the wilderness. More than 3,000 workmen had labored non-stop to accomplish Mizner's dream in less than a year. By opening day, an ornate tower rose above the elegant stonework that encircled the two-story structure. Invitation-only VIPs entered Mizner's creation through a wide portal spanned by a massive Romanesque arch. Sheltered from the bright Florida sunshine, the lobby was cool and dark, with tiled floors and a wide balcony. The entire atmosphere was one of quiet, European intimacy. Guests such as Irving Berlin and George Gershwin could stroll in the garden or compose their next Broadway hit in the shade of the walkway, its sides pierced by delicate Gothic arches where a cool sea breeze was always blowing.
So if you can imagine the opening day, February the 6th, 1926, all of high society were here in style. The Astors, the Flaglers, of course, the Secretary of State at the time, and even an ambassador to the Vatican. And everyone had waited with great anticipation for the opening and walked around this building that was new but had that old feel to it, and everybody was quite in awe.
Mizner's timing appeared to be perfect. With America's rapid transportation growth came the ability to reach never-before-dreamed-of destinations. Florida, eager to expand tourism, fueled the flames of fantasy.
There is a gigantic land boom that encompasses all of South Florida, and before it's ended, most of the state. There was always that concept of this, what you might call the Coolidge prosperity. The idea that, you know, the nation was wealthy and was going to get wealthier, and that everybody probably deserved a vacation house in Florida.
But despite the success of the Cloisters, disaster was just around the corner. In September of 1926, a major hurricane hit Florida and destroyed most of the East Coast, instantly turning the Florida land boom into a bust. The already inflated prices couldn't weather the sudden change in the public's confidence, and after the hurricane, almost no one was left who was willing to buy. Even Mizner's incredibly wealthy backers began to lose faith in Florida, and specifically Boca Raton. When Coleman DuPont finally withdrew his money from the project, Mizner's development collapsed.
The land boom was certainly over. Somebody has said that the hurricane was like the coup de grace. It was that final bullet in the head that you know, killed the victim. And the victim in this case was the Florida land boom. Mizner ultimately had to declare bankruptcy.
Not everyone had lost faith, however. Another of Mizner's principal backers, a Midwestern millionaire named Clarence Geist, bought the entire resort in November of 1927 for $71,500, a small fraction of the almost $2 million it had cost to build just a year earlier. A former railroad brakeman and self-made utilities baron, Geist was a rich man with a penchant for grand gestures and no regard for cost. And though he bought it for a song, he lavished attention upon it. $8 million worth of attention.
Clarence Geist acquired the resort and decided to add a club. His feeling was that to distinguish it from other grand hotels of the era, by making it a club, it would make it that much more exclusive.
He intended it to be a club for only the most elite members and their guests. A club without publicity, reporters, or fanfare. A place for the ultra-rich to escape and enjoy the climate of Florida in an opulent setting worthy of a European palace. He renamed it the Boca Raton Club. Among the additions, Geist created a grandiose new lobby surrounded by a balustraded mezzanine and set off by elaborate iron columns. The effect was not of a club, but of a royal palace. But it was fitting for the type of members Geist intended on having. Other additions included the cathedral dining room, whose soaring vaulted ceiling was reminiscent more of Chartres than a Spanish convent. Membership dues were just $100 a year, though it cost many thousands to join. The high initiation fee was not to fill Geist's coffers, he had no need for money, but to limit the type of people who could afford to join. In order to preserve the privacy of the club's elite members, there was no guest book or registration, but it wasn't unusual to see the private train cars of the DuPonts on the sidings nearby, or the yacht of President Hoover docked at the club's marina.
So the idea of linking a club and a resort was a brilliant one. It gave it a tremendous air of exclusivity.
Members of the club enjoyed not only the opulent surroundings, but horseback riding, croquet, and of course, a world-class golf course. Geist was a great fan of golf, though in his own style. When he went out on the links, it is said that he was followed across the course not by a golf cart, but by his chauffeur-driven Rolls-Royce. When the stock market crashed in 1929, the country was thrown into chaos. That is, most of the country. The society people who settled in Palm Beach were too rich to be hurt by the Depression, at least financially. But the times were changing, and Palm Beach was about to witness the end of the devil-may-care excesses of the Jazz Age, as the clouds of World War loomed on the horizon. As the war in Europe spread, not even the insulated community of Palm Beach was immune from its effects.
All the shipping that came from South America was going north, and the German submarines were out there, and they sank practically one a night.
The glittering lights of a city fueled by late-night society parties provided a perfect target for the invisible cunning of the German wolf pack.
So we'd go up to the end of the beach at night and wait until the ships were being sunk out there. While it made beautiful fireworks, it became a very serious thing later on. And there were many casualties, and they all came in. The ones that were rescued went to the Breakers Hotel, which partly was turned over as a hospital during that period of time. And it was quite a serious period.
The once opulent hotels became army hospitals. Ballrooms that had echoed with the laughter of debutantes were now filled with the moans of the wounded. Though the lights were dimmed briefly, Palm Beach, unlike many of the resorts of Europe, survived the war. And with the defeat of Germany, the U-boats that had harried the coastline retreated. Palm Beach quickly returned to its role as the winter home of the world's upper class. Today, Palm Beach remains the exclusive resort island that Henry Flagler envisioned over a century ago. Behind the wrought iron gates and stone walls of lavish Mediterranean estates, Palm Beach is the permanent home of an elite 10,000. During the peak winter season, the population more than doubles to 25,000, and Palm Beach becomes a gathering place for the wealthiest and most powerful people in the world.
Statistics show that 25% of the world's wealth is concentrated in Palm Beach during the winter seasonal months, perhaps January, February, March. The Sultan of Brunei is a regular visitor. Nelson Peltz has a home here. John Kluge has a home here. Ron Perlman has a home here, all of whom are in the top 10 of the Forbes 500 richest people. That's a lot of money for a small town like this.
Private jets may have replaced private trains, and Kennedys and Trumps have replaced Astors and Vanderbilts, but Palm Beach continues its tradition as the winter playground of the rich and famous. As it was when Flagler first drew New York society and European royalty to his pleasure land, leisure is still Palm Beach's primary pursuit. Sailboats and lavish yachts ply the waters of the Atlantic Ocean and placid Lake Worth. The sporting life continues on land as well, though it is now Prince Charles rather than the Duke of Windsor whose pony gallops towards the goal. Polo continues to be a Palm Beach favorite. And the Polo Club is still one of the most popular gathering places on Flagler's Island. It is here that competitors from around the world continue to engage in the sport of kings. And despite Flagler's dislike of the game, golf flourishes in Palm Beach, a town that boasts more golf courses per capita than any other place in the world. At the center of Palm Beach is Worth Avenue, where shopping has been raised to an art form. In its exclusive shops and extravagant boutiques, even the most outlandish request is graciously fulfilled.
We had one client that came in recently with a pet ferret. Now, a ferret's an unusual little animal. It looks a little bit like a mink if you're not acquainted with ferrets. Very playful and friendly. Well, what did she want for her ferret? Not a simple little chain around his neck. No, she wanted a Salon sapphire necklace, a little collar studded totally with Salon sapphires.
Towering above the expensive boutiques of Worth Avenue, the gleaming white walls of the Everglades Club still offers its members the utmost in comfort and privacy. The twin spires of the breakers still rise high into the blue skies of Florida, flags fluttering regally in the ocean breezes. Florida sunshine still floods the ballroom where Margaret Meriwether Post tangoed with E.F. Hutton, and it remains the center of Palm Beach society. Each season, the Breakers serves as an elegant backdrop to lavish balls which bring the creme de la creme of world society. As it did in the Jazz Age, the Boca Raton Resort and Club rises out of the lush foliage, promising exoticism and romance to those lucky enough to visit. Though no longer a private club, Boca continues to attract its share of the rich and famous, its appeal unchanged in the 70 years since Addison Mizner first envisioned his elite tropical hideaway. And to this day, its bubbling fountains and quiet gardens beckon well-heeled guests into a South Florida fairyland. From the rolling breakers of the Atlantic Ocean to the glimmering inlet of Lake Boca, this stretch of Florida has maintained its status as America's premier playground for the wealthy and famous. These resorts remain as living memories of Florida's glamorous Gold Coast and elegant, exciting stops on the Grand Tour.